My chest gets tight when people talk about followers. I don't follow anyone but the Heavenly Spirit. What you just heard isn't Denzel Washington rejecting his fans. It's Denzel Washington drawing a line in the sand. And in 2025 and 2026, that line matters more than ever. Because at 70 years old, after decades of carrying the weight of Hollywood's expectations,
an actor's actor, a movie star's movie star, and a Denzel's Washington.
Denzel has something to say to an industry that built him up as a god, and a message for those of us watching at home who are tired of being followers of anything but the Father. His latest interviews reveal a man who didn't just find faith, he found freedom, and he's using his voice to tell the difference. If you've watched the previous 2 deep dives on this channel, you know Denzel's story at the surface level. 2-time Oscar winner, global icon, the man who commanded every room he entered for 40 years. But what we didn't fully explore, what Denzel himself is finally willing to say out loud in 2025, is the private battle that nearly cost him everything. He had it all: the accolades, the security, the 10,000-bottle wine cellar stocked with the world's finest vintages. And yet, something was missing. Something that all the success in the world couldn't fill. Wine is very tricky. It's very slow. It ain't like, boom, all of a sudden, I was in a terrible deep darkness when Jesus saved me and set me free. 15 years. That's how long Denzel describes the slow descent. Not a dramatic fall, not a crisis moment that made headlines, just a quiet, creeping darkness. The kind that looks like sophistication when you're drinking the finest wine in the world. The kind that whispers to you, you've earned this. You deserve this. This is what success looks like. And then, one day, Jesus said, no. Let's walk into this carefully, because Denzel's language here is specific. He doesn't say, I quit drinking. He doesn't say, I got sober. He says, Jesus saved him. And the theological weight of that word, saved, changes everything about how we understand what happened. I'm done with the bottle. I'm done with the mirror. I'm in the service business now. 3 declarations. Done with the bottle, that's the physical bondage. Done with the mirror, that's the spiritual one. Because when you're trapped in addiction, you're worshiping at the altar of yourself. Every reflection says the same thing. Fix yourself. Perfect yourself. Save yourself. And it's a God that never, ever satisfies. But there's something profound in that 3rd statement. I'm in the service business now, not I'm retired, not I'm taking time to heal. He's not talking about absence. He's talking about redirection, about purpose, about moving from a life of consumption to a life of contribution. I've been blessed with the ability to interpret a leader or a falling down alcoholic, but the grace to stay standing, that's not me, that's him. There's humility here that Hollywood doesn't know how to produce. Denzel is acknowledging something that takes real spiritual maturity to admit. The thing that looks like talent, the ability to disappear into a character, the gift that made him a star. That's one kind of grace. But the grace to stay standing when everything in you wants to fall, that's not an acting skill. That's not willpower. That's the God of the universe reaching down and saying, not yet. I have more for you. And this is where Denzel's story becomes a mirror for anyone watching who feels trapped in their own private darkness. Whether it's addiction or shame or the suffocating weight of performance, the life where you're always on, always trying to be someone else, always reaching for something that numbs the pain. The message is simple. You can't fix it, but he can. Some people will never like you because your spirit irritates their demons. When you encounter that, don't fight them, pray for them. This is where we transition from personal testimony to public defiance. And it's crucial to understand what Denzel is saying here and what he's not saying. He's not saying, Hollywood hates me because I'm a Christian. He's saying something far more nuanced. He's saying there are forces, spiritual forces, that are uncomfortable with his presence, with his refusal to play the game, with his insistence that there's something higher than the industry, higher than the applause, higher than the next role. And his response? Don't fight, pray. Because the battle isn't political, it's spiritual. Let's pause here and do what this channel does best. Place Denzel's story inside the larger biblical narrative. Because what we're witnessing isn't just a celebrity redemption story. It's a testimony to the reality of spiritual bondage and spiritual liberation. Paul writes in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 12, I have the right to do anything, but not everything is beneficial. I will not be mastered by anything. For 15 years, Denzel had the right, the money, the status, the cultural permission to drink whatever he wanted, but something was mastering him. The wine had become a master, and what addiction always does is create the illusion of freedom while building invisible chains. But then there's the intervention of grace, not judgment, not condemnation, grace. The kind that reaches down into the mud and mire and says, I see you, I've always seen you, and I'm pulling you out. Psalm 40 says, He lifted me out of the slimy pit, out of the mud and mire. He set my feet on a rock and gave me a firm place to stand. That's Denzel's language. That's his testimony. Not, I worked harder, or I had a breakthrough in therapy. He was lifted by hands that weren't his own. Fear is just contaminated faith. You can't have both in the same room. I choose the light. This is the inverse of addiction. If addiction is fear masquerading as comfort, then sobriety, real sobriety, the kind Denzel describes, is faith crystallized into action. It's choosing the light when everything in the old system taught you to hide in the shadows. Now, at 70 years old, Denzel isn't just sober. He's reframing his entire identity. And this is where he fires back at the Hollywood system that made him. I'm not a Hollywood actor. I'm a child of God who happens to act. There's a difference. One is a job, the other is an identity. This is revolutionary, not in the political sense, in the existential sense. For 40 years, Hollywood told Denzel what he was: a commodity, a brand, a product to be packaged and sold. The industry created an identity for him, and he inhabited it masterfully, so masterfully that for 15 years, he even lost track of who he actually was. But that identity was always borrowed, always dependent on the next role, the next paycheck, the next accolade. And when you build your life on borrowed identity, you become desperate. Desperate for validation, desperate for more, desperate for anything to fill the void. The reclamation that Denzel is describing, I'm a child of God who happens to act, flips the entire power structure. Acting becomes the role, not the reality. His identity comes from his relationship with the Father, not from the industry's evaluation of his talent. The job can end, the accolades can fade, but his sonship, that's eternal. The world is a filmmaker's medium. The kingdom is an actor's medium. The curtain goes up, and nobody can help you but the Father. Listen to the poetry in that. The world, Hollywood, the industry, the system, that's a filmmaker's playground. They control the narrative, the framing, the lighting, the final cut. But the kingdom of God? That's an actor's medium. Because in the kingdom, you're standing before an audience of one. The curtain is up. The performance is real. No takes. No director yelling, cut. Just you and the Father. And Denzel is saying, in that moment, when you're standing alone before him, none of the Hollywood machinery matters. None of it. The only thing that matters is whether you've built your life on rock or sand. My chest gets tight when people talk about followers. I don't follow anyone but the Heavenly Spirit. This is Denzel drawing a boundary. And it's not subtle. He's watching the same influencer culture we're all watching. The cult of personality, the follower counts, the parasocial relationships where millions of people think they know someone they've never met. And his body, his chest, is having a physical reaction to it. Not judgmentally, just a clear signal. This isn't the way. The way is different. It's singular. One relationship, one allegiance, one spirit to follow. But here's what makes Denzel's testimony not just powerful. It makes it trustworthy. He didn't find God in a moment of crisis and then vanish into a monastery. He found God and then came home, to his wife, to his children, to the responsibility of being a father and a husband in a fallen world. Pauletta Washington, his wife of 40 years, recently shared something that changed how I understand this entire story. During the darkest years, the wine years, she never stopped praying. She described prayer as a shield, and she prayed for her husband's deliverance before he even knew he needed it. This is crucial, because Denzel's sobriety isn't just his story. It's a testimony to the power of intercessory prayer. While he was lost in the darkness, there was a woman on her knees, covering him, believing for his freedom before he could believe for himself. That's marriage. That's covenant. That's the kingdom breaking into the natural realm through the simple act of a wife refusing to give up on her husband. And then there are the children, John David and Malcolm Washington, both now adults, both with their own walk with Christ. Denzel speaks about them with reverence. My greatest legacy isn't the Oscars. It's raising two men who know the Lord for themselves. That's the real equalizer. If you're still watching, and I hope you are, I want to say this directly. We're building something real here at the Biblical Blueprint. A community that doesn't flinch when the world tells us to be quiet. If you haven't already, hit subscribe. Drop a comment. Tell us which Denzel quote hit you the hardest. And share this video with someone who needs to hear a voice of courage. Alright, let's finish strong. Because the way Denzel closes this chapter is the most powerful part. As Denzel enters what he calls the final chapter, we need to understand what that means. He's not talking about retirement. He's talking about reorientation, a life redirected toward a single mission, lifting up the kingdom, not himself. The Bible means more to me now than it did when I was carrying it in the Book of Eli. Back then it was a prop. Now it's my oxygen. In the Book of Eli, Denzel carried a Bible across a post-apocalyptic wasteland. It was a beautiful metaphor. A solitary man protecting a sacred text. But at that time, he was acting the part. Now he's living it. And the language he uses, oxygen, tells us something critical. Without it, he dies. Spiritually. This isn't a hobby. This isn't something he does on the side. This is life support. Stay on your knees, watch me, but listen to God. I'm human, I'm just like you, trying to find my way home. There's such tenderness here. He's not positioning himself as a guru or a spiritual authority. He's saying, look at how I'm trying to live. But don't follow me. Listen to the one I'm listening to, because he knows, he's lived it, that following a man, even a good man, will eventually lead to disappointment. But following Jesus, that leads home. I'm moving toward the prize. If I get another 30 years, I want to spend it lifting him up, not me. And then there's this, the ultimate redirection. Not, if I get another 30 years, I want to spend it enjoying my legacy. Just, I want to lift him up. That's a man who has touched the bottom and been lifted to the surface. That's a man who has tasted the wine of this world and found it wanting. That's a man who has answered the deepest question any human being can answer. Who is my life for? You pray for rain, you gotta deal with the mud too. I'm in the mud right now, but I'm looking at the clouds. And there it is, the final word. Not a word of resolution, but a word of process. Real faith isn't about escaping the mud. It's about trusting that the rain was real, the promise was real, and that clouds mean water. It means the desert season has an end. If you're in the mud right now, spiritually, emotionally, physically, this is Denzel's message to you. You're not abandoned. The clouds are coming, and when you're standing on the other side of this, you'll understand that every bit of mud taught you something about the faithfulness of God. Denzel Washington is 70 years old. He's been sober for years. He's redirected his platform, his voice, his final chapter toward the kingdom. And at a moment when Hollywood is fracturing, when the industry that made him is crumbling under the weight of its own contradictions, he's saying something simple. I'm not a Hollywood actor. I'm a child of God. That's not a rejection of his art. It's a clarification of his identity. And it might be the most revolutionary thing any major celebrity has said in 2025. Now, here's what I'm asking you to do. Don't just watch this and move on. Share it. Send it to someone who thinks faith is outdated. Send it to someone who's been told they have to choose between success and God. Because Denzel Washington just showed the entire world that you don't have to. Hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment telling us what this man's courage means to you. And remember, at the Biblical Blueprint, we don't whisper about our faith. We declare it, just like Denzel. God bless you. We'll see you next time.